Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Welcome to the 14th and final lecture of this course, Grammatical Rules and Systems. As I told you in the previous lecture, this will be just review, and I will give you some sample questions that you can look at to understand and to have a good idea about what to expect in the exam, so that you won't be surprised with some types of questions. But please note that all the questions I'm going to give you in this lecture are different from the ones in the exam. So these are just to give you an idea about the types of questions. So the exam questions will be similar, but of course different than what we are going to discuss today. So just make sure you understand the type of question, and then you go and study the material I gave you in the previous lectures based on your understanding of what is required in the exam for you to get a good mark, inshallah. So we will start with form and function. So this is an important distinction that I explained to you previously, and I said that form is what the constituent looks like. Okay, so is it a noun, is it an adverb, is it an adjective? So this is what we call form. And of course function is the job of the constituent. So what the constituent does and its job in the sentence. The term constituent is used to refer to words, phrases, and clauses. So instead of saying words, instead of saying phrases, instead of saying clauses, we use one term to refer to them all. So when I say constituent, I'm referring to all three: words, phrases, and clauses. So this is just a simpler way to talk about these three elements. So first of all, we'll look at the forms of constituents. So here are some of the forms we discussed in our previous lectures. These are not, of course, all of the forms. This is just some examples of the forms we discussed. There are others that you can go back to in the previous lectures and see for yourself. So, for example, verb, verb phrase, noun, nominal group, pronoun and pronominal group, noun clause, determiner, article, demonstrative, preposition, prepositional phrase, adjective, adjective phrase, adverb, adverb phrase, adverbial clause. These are all some of the forms we discussed in our lectures, and each one of them we gave enough examples so that you would see a sentence and identify them successfully. So when you see a verb phrase in a sentence, you'll be able to identify it. When you see an article, when you see a demonstrative, when you see a preposition. So hopefully you have a good idea about these elements, so that as soon as you see them in a sentence, you'll be successful in identifying them most of the time. So here are some sample questions that I might ask you about the forms of constituents. So for example, I might say, which of the following is a pronoun? So we studied pronouns, and I gave you examples of different pronouns. So I might give you 4 words like here. So here we have 4 words, and I say which one of these is a pronoun. So is man a pronoun? Is talk a pronoun? Is he a pronoun? Is nice a pronoun? Man is a noun, of course, so no, it is not a pronoun. Talk is a verb, it's not a pronoun. Nice is an adjective, it's not a pronoun. But he is a pronoun. Okay, it is a pro form, a form that we can use instead of another form. So in a sentence like the man is here, we can say he is here. So he takes the place of the man. It is a pro form, it is a pronoun. So the correct choice would be C. Which of the following is not an article? We talked about articles, and I gave you the 3 articles in English. So based on your study and understanding of articles, which of these words is not an article? So is them an article? Is the an article? Is a an article? Is an article? Of course, this is a simple question. So of course, you know, articles are the, a, and an. So them is not an article. The correct choice would be A, because I asked you which one is not. Okay, pay attention to when I ask you which is not. Okay, I will even put it in capital letters as you see here, so that you would pay attention to it. So them is not an article, so it is the correct choice in this case. So in this case we will choose A. Now we move on to the function. We discussed different functions in our lectures, including subject. Okay, so noun phrases can function as a subject. Verb, of course, the function is called a predicator, but as we said, the function of predicator can only be done with verbs. So we can use verb as a way to refer to the function. Okay, instead of saying predicator, we can say verb. So verb can refer to both the form and the function, as I explained previously. Different kinds of objects: direct object, indirect object, object of preposition, also complements, complement of subject plus be, complement of object, complement of adjective, adjunct, appositive, head, post modifier, pre-modifier. If you don't understand any of these terms, you need to go back to the previous lectures and look at each one of them. You will see enough examples. You may want to listen to the lecture again, and hopefully you will understand based on my explanation of each of these terms. So if I'm going to ask you about something like this in the exam, I might give you something like this, these two questions. So what is the function of the underlined phrase? So I give you a sentence and I underline a phrase for you, and I tell you what is the function of this phrase. So the students are attending a lecture. Okay, so I want the function of this phrase, the students. So is it a subject? Is it a direct object? Is it an indirect object? Or is it a complement? So based on our lectures, of course it is a subject. Okay, so the students are attending a lecture. This is the subject in this sentence, so we will choose A. Another question: he will come tomorrow. The adjunct in this sentence is, so here I asked you what is the adjunct. So in the previous question I asked you what is the function of the phrase and of the underlined phrase. In this question I gave you the function. Okay, I told you, okay, we have an adjunct, but where is it? Okay, so where is the adjunct in this sentence? And here I will list the words in the sentence and you choose the adjunct. So is it he? Okay, is it will? Is it come? Is it tomorrow? So of course the adjunct, as we said previously, if you remember, it is an unnecessary part of the sentence. It is optional and it adds more information. So we can remove it if we want. So we can say he will come. Okay, he will come, and we end the sentence. So the adjunct is of course tomorrow. Alright, so it is an adverb and it functions as an adjunct. He is the subject, we need it. Will come, okay, this is a verb phrase. So we have the helping verb will and the main verb come, and it is a complex verb. We need both elements in this case. So none of those are adjuncts. The adjunct is the adverb tomorrow. So you will choose D. Of course, we explained adjuncts in detail for each type of phrases. If you go back to prepositional phrases, to adjective phrases, to all these, you will see that we talked about the function of each of them and explained them in great detail with examples and everything. So hopefully that is clear to you. Also, there are parts in each lecture that are frequent throughout the whole lectures. So in each lecture you will see definitions, you will see examples, you will see rules, you will see classifications. So each of these parts and each of these elements will be included in the exam, and you might be asked about. So in the case of definitions, here are some definitions we covered in our lectures, like grammar. We defined grammar. We defined sentence. What is a sentence? We defined that. We talked about the types of sentences and defined each type. So we defined statement, question, exclamation, command. Verbs, we classified them into transitive and intransitive. And transitive verbs, we divided them to monotransitive and ditransitive, and then we defined each of those. So you need to know the meaning of intransitive verbs. What do we mean by monotransitive verbs? What do we mean by ditransitive verbs? Modifiers, I defined modifiers for you. Proper nouns, common nouns, animate nouns, inanimate nouns, count nouns, mass nouns, collective nouns, etc. So we have a lot of definitions and a lot of important terms that you need to know in order to start to understand grammar very well, and to go and open any book that deals with grammar and be able to understand what is said and what is discussed in these books. So I might ask you some questions related to the definition. So nouns, I might give you the definition, I ask you to choose the term. So nouns which cannot be preceded by one and have no plural form are called. So what do we call this? So a noun that cannot be preceded by one. We can't put one before this noun when we form a sentence. And it doesn't have a plural form. We can't make it plural. Do we call this count noun? Do we call this countable noun? Do we call it mass noun? Or do we call it collective noun? So count and countable both refer to the same thing. Okay, nouns that can be counted. So A and B are not correct. Collective nouns, as we said, can be either singular or plural, so they can be preceded by one and they can have a plural form. But mass nouns, like water, like oil, like anything that cannot be counted, these are what we call mass nouns. These cannot be preceded by one. We can't put one right before them, and they do not have a plural form. So water, we don't say waters, okay, if we are referring to the water we drink. So mass noun is the correct answer in this case. Another definition is the name of someone or something that is usually imagined to be unique. So what do we call this? The name of someone or something that is usually imagined to be unique. If you go back to the lectures, you will notice that this is the exact wording of the definition. So I will not change the wording of the definition much. So if you memorize the definition and understand it, it will be the same here. So there aren't any tricks or changes or anything. So if you know the definition, you should be able to answer directly without any problems. So if you go back to the lectures, you will see this definition. When we defined the name of someone or something that is usually imagined to be unique, we define this as proper nouns. Okay, so proper nouns are nouns or the names of someone or something that is usually imagined to be unique. So generic noun, common noun, collective nouns are different things. So the correct choice here would be proper nouns. Go back to our lecture, I think this is the second lecture, and you will see proper nouns and their definition, and you will see this definition directly there. Classifications. So we classified many things in many terms in our lectures. So many of the terms we covered have different classifications, and as we said, we classified verbs, for example, into helping verbs and main verbs. We classified also verbs into transitive and intransitive verbs. We classified pronouns into personal pronouns, reflexive pronouns, and indefinite pronouns. So these are all classifications. We mentioned types for each term that we talked about. So I might ask you about these classifications, and I gave you examples for each type and each classification. So I might ask you about the classifications themselves, or that you identify a word or a phrase and you classify it yourself into one of these classifications. So I might give you a verb and I tell you, okay, what is this? Is this transitive or intransitive? I might give you a pronoun and I tell you, what is this pronoun? Is it personal? Is it reflexive? Is it indefinite? And other classifications as well. So these are just a few of the classifications we studied in the first two lectures, I think. But of course, throughout the lectures up to lecture 13, we discussed many classifications. So you need to know these and be able to understand questions based on them. Here are two examples of these questions. Which of the underlined pronouns in the following sentences is a reflexive pronoun? So here we have 4 sentences, and I underlined pronouns for you in these sentences. So where is the reflexive pronoun? Is it he in the first sentence? He is here. Is it this car is mine? Is it mine in this sentence? Is it myself in C? I did the homework myself. Is it everyone in in D? Everyone came on time. So if you go back to reflexive pronouns, I gave you a lot of examples of reflexive pronouns. You'll notice that myself is a reflexive pronoun. So he is personal, mine is personal, and it is possessive. Everyone is indefinite. It is an indefinite pronoun. But myself is reflexive, so C would be the correct choice in this sentence. Another question related to classifications: which of the following is not one of the types of pronouns? So we classified pronouns into 3 classes, and which of these types or which of these classes is not one of them? So A, personal pronouns. Is this one of the types of pronouns? B, generic pronouns. Is it one of the types of pronouns? C, reflexive pronouns. D, indefinite pronouns. So it needs to be part of pronouns, and it needs to be part of the classification. So as in verbs, we can classify verbs through different ways. So it needs to be related to verbs, and to the classification of verbs, and it needs to be related to a specific classification. So in this specific classification, we said that pronouns are divided to personal, reflexive, and indefinite. We didn't say anything about generic pronouns. We didn't mention them at all. So there might not even be such thing as generic pronoun as far as you know. So generic pronouns is not one of the types of pronouns. So the correct choice here would be B. Generic pronouns are not one of the types of pronouns. We also, in our discussion, talk about grammatical rules. So we covered a number of grammatical rules in our lectures. This is an example of one of them. The subordinating conjunction that. We said that that is a conjunction. It can be used as a subordinating conjunction to form subordinate clauses. So that is obligatory. Obligatory means necessary. We must have it. It cannot be removed or deleted. This is the meaning of obligatory. So it is obligatory in a sentence when the subordinate that clause is a subject. So if we have a that clause, and if that clause is a subject, we cannot remove that. So, for example, we cannot delete that in this sentence. That the driver could not control his car is obvious. Here we have a subordinate clause, okay, a that clause, that the driver could not control his car. This is the subordinate clause. We have a subordinating conjunction that at the beginning of the sentence, and we cannot remove it. We cannot say the driver could not control his car is obvious. Okay, we need that in this case. So that cannot be removed. So this is one of the rules we discussed in our lectures. I want to ask you something like this. Which of the following that clause has an obligatory subordinating conjunction? Okay, so we need a question mark here at the end, of course, because it's a question. And we have 4 choices. So the question will be different depending on the rule. So each rule will have their own questions related to them. As long as you understand the rule, don't worry about the question. You should be able to answer the question directly and without difficulty. So if you know the rule, in this case, if you know the rule of when do we remove that and when can we keep that, in this case, you will be able to answer the question directly. So in the rule I explained earlier, here we have 4 sentences. A, that they had an exam last week was reason enough for the students not to go on that trip. Of course, this is a long sentence. I will try to keep the sentences as short as possible in the exam, so don't worry. But this is just an example. B, the students didn't know that Ahmed was not notified about the time of the exam. C, the reason is that no one told him about it. D, they all noticed that he did not attend the exam. So in which sentence can we remove that? And which of these sentences, there is only one sentence, we must keep that. We cannot delete it. Okay? So can we delete it in A? No, we can't. Okay, we need that in this case because here it is a subject. That clause in this sentence is a subject. And as we said, we cannot remove it if it is the subject. If it is the subordinating conjunction in a subject subordinate, that clause. So that clause here is the subject, and that is necessary. We cannot remove it. But in B we can remove it. We can say the students didn't know Ahmed was not notified about the time of the exam. In C the reason is no one told him about it. D, they all noticed he did not attend the exam. you can go back to our discussion of that clauses and see why we can remove it in B, C, and D, but not A. Now I'm going to answer some general inquiries that you asked me through emails, through our previous live lectures. So I'm going to answer some of the questions that students asked me. If your question was not answered, just email me after this lecture, after you hear this lecture, and I will answer you directly through email. So these are just some of the topics that some of your colleagues found difficult to understand. So one of your colleagues asked about finite verbs, okay, or finite verbs. So as I said previously, finite verbs show tense, person, and number. So if you want to identify a finite verb, you should change one of these and see if it changes, if it shows tense, person, and number, then it is finite. If it doesn't change, if it stays the same, if it doesn't show tense, person, and number, then it is not. It is non-finite, okay? So as I said here, to see whether a verb is finite or not, try to change the tense, person, or number in a sentence. And I gave you some examples here. So, he is here today. The verb in this sentence is, okay? So the verb is here in this sentence. It is the verb to be is. If we change the tense, so here it is present, if we make it past, if we say, for example, he was here yesterday, you will notice that the verb to be is changes because we changed the tense. So when we said yesterday, okay, when we refer to the past, we need to change the verb. So we say he was here, okay? So this means that the verb to be is in this sentence is finite because it shows tense. Another example, he is walking. If we change person in this sentence, if we say I, okay, so instead of third person, we use first person. So instead of he, we used I. You will notice that the verb to be changes. So he is walking becomes I am walking. So when we change person, the verb to be changes, and this means that it is finite. But you notice that the verb walking did not change. So walking in this sentence is not finite. But the verb to be is finite, because when we change the person, the verb changed with it, okay? Also, you can change the number. So you try to change the tense, you try to change the person, you try to change the number. If none of this works, if the verb stays the same in all of these cases, then it is non-finite. So for example, in example 3, the child has slept already, and the children have slept already. You notice when we change the number, instead of child, instead of a singular subject, we use a plural subject. So we use the children, which is plural. You will notice that the verb has changed into have, okay? So has comes with a singular subject, have comes with a plural subject, and this means the helping verb has and have are finite. But you notice the verb slept. The verb slept is a past participle, and it is one of the forms of non-finite verbs. So slept doesn't change. If we change the number, slept stays the same. And this is why we call has and have finite verbs, but slept we call it non-finite. Okay, I hope this is clear for you. If you're still having difficulty with the difference between finite and non-finite, as I told you, email me and hopefully I will explain it to you more and you will understand it. Now we move on to another problem area for one of your colleagues. They asked me heads and modifiers. Can you talk more about these two things? So before you identify the head and the modifier in a sentence, you need to identify the phrase first, the phrase in which they come. So for example, if you have this sentence, the old man has an appointment with his doctor. So in this sentence, you need to identify the phrases, and then you identify the heads and modifiers for each phrase. So in this sentence we have, please look at it before you see the explanation. Try to identify how many phrases we have in this sentence. So we have 3 noun phrases, we have 1 verb phrase, and we have 1 prepositional phrase. The noun phrases are the old man, an appointment, and his doctor. So we're talking, of course, about this the example sentence. So the old man, an appointment, his doctor, an appointment, and his doctor are all noun phrases. We also have a verb phrase which consists of one verb, a simple verb, has. Okay, so has is the VP in this sentence. It is just one verb, a simple verb, and as we said, as a way of convenience, we call it a phrase. Okay, even though it is just one word, we call it VP, verb phrase, even though it is just one word. The prepositional phrase is the phrase with his doctor. Okay, so with his doctor is a prepositional phrase. Here you have a preposition and a noun phrase, and you will notice that one of the phrases, one of the noun phrases, is part of another phrase. So the noun phrase his doctor is part of the prepositional phrase with his doctor. Okay, so a phrase can be contained within another phrase. So in this case, with his doctor, here there are two phrases. With his doctor is a phrase, a prepositional phrase, and a smaller one, his doctor, is a noun phrase. It is an object of the preposition with. Alright, so as I said, you will notice that the noun phrase his doctor is part of the prepositional phrase. It is the object of the preposition. Okay, so there is an easy way that you can use to identify noun phrases. Okay, many of the noun phrases that you encounter, try to change them to pronouns, like I did here in this example. So the old man has an appointment with his doctor. Okay, we can take the old man, the whole phrase, and we make it into he. Alright, so we can't say the he. Okay, we can't say the old he. We need to take out all three words before we can put he in their place. Okay, so the old man, we need to take all three words and put he in their place. So this means that all three words belong to one phrase. So the old man has. Okay, let's try an appointment. We can replace an appointment with it or with this. Okay, so it doesn't matter which pronoun you use. So we can't say the old man has and this. We need to remove and because it is part of the phrase. Okay, so the old man has this or has it with his doctor. So we can say his, him, or something like that. So we need to remove his doctor, all of it, and replace it with him. So he has this with him, or he has it with him. Here we have he takes the place of one phrase, this takes the place of the second phrase, him takes the place of the third phrase. So the first phrase is the old man, the second phrase is an appointment, the third phrase is his doctor. So this is another way for you to identify the phrase. Okay, now you identify the phrase, and what is left to you is to know what is the head and what are the modifiers in the phrase. So the head, as I told you previously, it is necessary for the phrase. It is a necessary element of the phrase. The modifiers are optional elements and they add to the meaning. Okay, so they add to the meaning of the head or limit it. So they are not the focus or what we are talking about in the phrase. What we are talking about, for example, in this sentence, we're talking about man, we're talking about appointment, we're talking about doctor. When we say the old man, the makes the head definite. Old is an adjective, it describes man, it gives us more information about man, but these are just additions to the head man. Okay, an appointment is the same. Okay, an is indefinite, an indefinite article, it just gives more to the head. His doctor. Okay, so which doctor we're talking about? A specific doctor, the old man's doctor. Okay, his doctor. So his is also a modifier and doctor is the head. So in the previous example, the heads of each noun phrase are man, in the old man, the head is man, an appointment, appointment is the head, his doctor, doctor is the head. The modifiers are the, old, and his in each phrase. So you notice that all these modifiers come before the head of each phrase. So if we go back, the old man, you notice that the and old came before man, before the head. Appointment, and it came before the head. His it came before doctor, before the head. So all of those are called pre-modifiers. When they come before the head, we call them pre-modifier. So we mainly talked about noun phrases here, but it is the same case with all types of phrases. Okay, so the head is what determines the type of the phrase. So if we have a noun phrase, the head will be a noun or a pronoun. Of course, there is one exception. If you remember, I told you that an adjective can be the head of a noun phrase when we are talking about a group of people of a certain class, like the poor, the rich. You can go back to our lecture regarding this one and try the old, the young. Okay, so this is just one exception. But mainly, the head of the noun phrase is a noun or a pronoun. For example, the man. The man is a noun phrase. The head is man. It is a noun. We all. Okay, we all is a noun phrase. The head is here is a pronoun. We. So the head of a prepositional phrase is a preposition. For example, with the doctor. With the doctor is a prepositional phrase. The head is with, which is a preposition. The doctor is a noun phrase, and it came as part of the prepositional phrase. But the head is with, it is the preposition. The head of an adjective phrase is an adjective. So, very good. Good is an adjective, and it is the head of this adjective phrase. So, when we say he did very good, or he is very good is an adjective phrase. But sometimes adjective phrases can be part of noun phrases, so they can come under noun phrases. When we say a very good student, okay, so they come as part of noun phrases sometimes. Another example, the headmaster of the school is here. You notice that we can take the whole four words or 5 words here, 1, 2, 3, 4, so here, the headmaster of the school, here we have 5 words. We can take them all and replace them with he. Okay, so the headmaster of the school is here. We can say he is here. So all of those are related to each other, so are the part of one phrase. So the head in this noun phrase is headmaster. We are talking about headmaster. Who is here? The headmaster. Okay, we are talking about the headmaster. So headmaster is the head. We have the modifier the that came before it, so it is a pre-modifier because it came before the head. And we also have the prepositional phrase of the school. So you notice here we have the noun phrase, the headmaster of the school. This noun phrase has another phrase inside it. So it has a prepositional phrase within the noun phrase. So of the school comes after the head and functions as a modifier. Okay, it is a prepositional phrase and it comes as a modifier after the head. So we can call it a post modifier because it comes after the head. The school itself, okay, the school is also a noun phrase. Okay, it is another phrase. So the headmaster of the school, here we have 3 phrases. We have the headmaster of the school, which is the one that includes all the words. We have of the school, this is a prepositional phrase, it is within the noun phrase. And we also have the school, which is a noun phrase within the prepositional phrase. So yeah, it can be a bit complex and complicated. Phrases inside other phrases. So we need to pay attention to that, okay? Of course, I will not really delve into this too much in the exam, but this is just for you to understand, okay? So I will try to make the question in the exam as clear as possible for you, but this is just for you to understand more about the difference between heads, modifiers, and different phrases and how they interact with each other. So, as I said, of the school is a prepositional phrase. It is inside a noun phrase, the headmaster of the school. It is the post modifier of headmaster. The school is a noun phrase and it is the object of the preposition of. Okay, so hopefully this is clear enough for you. Another source of complication, or something that one of your colleagues asked me about, is complements. So what is the difference between a complement of a subject and a complement of an adjective? So look at these 2 examples. The book is on the desk. And another example, Ahmed is very good at mathematics. Okay, in example 1, we only have one complement. Okay, and if you remember what we said about complements, they are necessary parts of the sentence. We cannot remove complements from the sentence. So in example 1, the book is on the desk. On the desk is a prepositional phrase, and it is necessary in this sentence. We can't say the book is and end the sentence, because this will not be a full sentence. So it doesn't say anything. The book is what? We need to complete it. So when we say the book is on the desk, now we have a full idea, a full sentence, and this is why we say on the desk is a complement. But so here we only have one complement. The book is on the desk. On the desk is a complement of the subject, the book, and the verb to be, is. In example 2, please notice example 2. Here we have two complements, and this is the source of confusion and why some students might not understand the difference between example 1 and example 2. Here we have two complements, and each complement is inside another complement, just like phrases. So this is why grammar can be a bit complicated and some students have difficulty with it. But if you try to understand this idea of that things can be within other things in grammar, it will be easy for you. You just have to grasp this concept. So in example 2, here we have two complements. Ahmed is very good at mathematics. Okay, the first complement is very good at mathematics. So very good at mathematics, this is the first complement. It is the complement of the subject Ahmed and the verb to be is. Okay, just like example 1. So the book is on the desk, Ahmed is, the book is. Both of these sentences need a complement so that the sentence will be complete and the idea will be a full idea, that a complete idea that we can understand. So the book is on the desk. This is on the desk is a complement. Ahmed is very good at mathematics. Very good at mathematics is the complement of the subject plus be. But there is also another complement. Okay, it is within the first complement. So very good at mathematics, the subject good needs a complement. So Ahmed is very good. If we want the full idea here, we need to say, okay, what is he good at? Okay, so when we say Ahmed is very good at something, if we mean good at something, good might mean nice. So if we say Ahmed is very good, meaning nice, we don't need to complete it. But when we say he is very good, meaning that he is good at doing something, or he is excellent at a certain thing, we need to complete this idea. So we need a complement for the adjective good. So Ahmed is very good. Good at what? At mathematics. So at mathematics is the complement of the adjective good. So again, example 1, we only have one complement. The book is, we can't end the sentence here, we need to complete, So we say the book is on the desk. In example 2, when we say Ahmed is, we can't say nothing, we need to complete it. We need to say Ahmed is nice, Ahmed is very good at this, at mathematics. When we say Ahmed is very good, we can't also just end the sentence, unless we mean good as in nice. But if we mean he's good at something, we need to complete this idea. So when we say Ahmed is very good at mathematics, at English, at whatever, okay? So we need to complete the idea of the adjective. This is why we need a complement of the adjective. And I explained this for you here. So in example 1, we only have one complement, which is on the desk. This is the complement of the subject, the book, plus be. In example 2, we have two complements. The first complement, very good at mathematics, is an adjective phrase. Okay, so it's an adjective phrase. If you go back to adjective phrases, you will see I gave you this exact example of adjective phrases. You have good, the head, the adjective, and you have very, a pre-modifier, and you have at mathematics, a complement. And it is the complement of the subject plus be. So very good at mathematics is the complement of Ahmed, and the verb to be is. The second complement at mathematics is a prepositional phrase. Here we have at, a preposition, and mathematics, which is a noun phrase. So it is a prepositional phrase. It is the complement of the adjective good. Okay, I hope this is clear for you. To understand the difference between complement of adjective and the complement of subject, you can also look if there is an adjective in the sentence. So in example 1, we might not have an adjective. So the book is on the desk, there is no adjective in the sentence. So it is not necessary to have an adjective here. In example 2, we have an adjective, and after the adjective there is a complement for it. But sometimes you can, in example 1, say, the book is on the big desk. Okay, so the big desk here, the word big is an adjective, and it can appear before desk. But even in this case, it is part of the noun phrase, the desk. Okay, so it is part of desk, part of the head desk. It is a pre-modifier, the big desk. So it doesn't need a complement in this case. And this is why it is very clear that in 1 we only have one complement, but in 2 we need a complement of the adjective good, and it is at mathematics. I know this might be a bit even more confusing, but you know, if you have any trouble understanding it, just replay the discussion that we did here, read the 2 examples, try to understand them, and read the explanation. If you still can't understand the difference, send me an email and I will try to just detail it and give you more examples about it as much as I can. So these are some of the troublesome topics that your colleagues sent me through email. If you have any other problems with any topics that we covered in our lectures, just email me as well, and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. And as I said, the exam will only be from the content in the PowerPoint slides and in my lectures. You can look at the exercises in each lecture, because these are also some of the types of questions you will see. So in the exam you will see questions similar to the exercises in each lecture. So in lecture 1 I gave you 3 exercises, in lecture 2 3 exercises, and so on. So look at these exercises. You might see some questions that are similar to the exam. So from 1 to 13 we have a lot of exercises. Look at them. These are some of the types of questions you might see in the exam. Also the types of questions I gave you today, and there might be 1 or 2 questions that are a bit different, but it is still from the content. So nothing from outside, only the content I give you will be included in the exam. You don't need to bother yourself with anything else. Just try to understand it. If you have any difficult topics, email me and I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. I wish you the best of luck in the exam, and thank you for listening, and hopefully you will get the best grades you aspire to get, inshallah. Thank you for listening again.